tell you something. Being a man ain't no joke.
Toxic masculinity.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sex.
Hello. Welcome back to A Christian Male Perspective. This is Andre, along with my brothers, JT and Drews. What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's going on?
What's up? How y'all feeling?
How you doing?
Right. If you guys saw some of the reels I put out earlier in the week, the topic is leadership. And it gets a lot of pushback in today's society on guys being leaders and being positive leaders in their home and in the community. So let's start off when I just thought to toss the question out there for you guys. When I say a leader, because we all come from different walks of life, what does that mean to you guys? Just kind of take your time. What is a leader in your mind when that word is thrown out there? What's the connotation to you?
Well, for me, being a leader is a lot of different things. Somebody that leads by example, leads by their actions. And also one thing that I think that's displaced today as far as leadership goes, because there's a little bit of selfishness in it, is being unselfish. When you look at some examples throughout history, some of our great leaders, Martin Luther King, even Malcolm X, even those Black leaders that we had examples of, they made a sacrifice for others, because I'm pretty sure they want to live a long life, but they sacrificed knowing the outcome. So a lot of great leaders are missing that foundation in that study, that a lot of our great leaders sacrificed. They were selfish. They put others before themselves. And I think that's part of being a leader as well, making those sacrifices, being a leader, being somebody that people can trust. They can come to you. And a lot of leaders are not that way. You hear a lot of employees say, I don't trust my supervisor, or I don't trust what's going on right now. So I think being a leader is all those things, but I think we are lacking in some of those areas.
Drew, when I say being a leader or an example leader, when I say leader, what does that come to your mind?
The thing that comes to my mind is like somebody who can be a visionary, somebody who can actually set a pattern or set an example for others to be able to follow. And there are different, styles and functions of a leader, of a good leader, because you can be a leader, be a bad one, as JT was saying. But to be a good leader, I think that you lead first. In other words, like the leaders that went before us, they made the sacrifice because they were looking out for the common people, not just for themselves, but for the common people. And to me, I really see leadership as being an individual who lives according to a set of standards, and he disciplined himself to be that way so he can be an example for others to follow, especially when it comes to the household. I think that's probably the hardest part for me because you have examples that were set in the past, but then times are changing. So it's like, okay, well, how do I be an effective leader in this modern day with the modern technology that we have, with the modern disciplinary actions that we, have, with showing compassion, with being a good steward? It's a lot that goes into it as being a leader in the household. So it's like you have to take it from a lot of different perspectives. One thing that I can say, I thank God for giving me a spirit to be submissive to Him and to be humble. And even though I know how to assert myself, I had to learn how to assert myself the right way. So, and that's like being a leader. You don't always, this is just what I say, and this is how it's going to happen. No, you got to use wisdom, right? You got to get knowledge. And then you have to assert yourself in a way to where you still want people to follow you properly in the right way in order to get something accomplished. So that's kind of what comes to mind when I think about it.
So you guys hit on a lot of things. For me, when I think of a leader, I think of someone out front. if that makes sense. So if you're running a race, to me, the leader is someone who is determining the direction of where you're going. They have an angle of mind of where they're trying to get to. And being the leader is the one that's being out front looking for danger and taking the bullets as necessary, right? That's a lot of time when I think of being a leader is the one that's standing out front, kind of like the lookout, the scout, if you will, like in an army, right? They're out there looking to see where the dangers are, which paths to take. You know, they're seeing the obstacles up ahead so that they can redirect so that we don't fall into a pit, if that makes sense. So for me, being a leader a lot is trying to see ahead, knowing where I'm trying to get to and trying to see ahead where the obstacles are so that we can avoid them as much as possible.
And also, since you just said that, it goes back to the vision too, because like you have to cast the vision, and the Bible even speaks of without a vision that people perish. Well, a leader has to have a vision, and like you said, he is in the forefront in a sense, but I think moreover he's determining the outcome, right? Because he sees what he wants to happen, he sees what needs to take place, but his overall objective is to be able to determine an outcome. Like at the end of the day, at the end of the result, this is what I want to happen. So how do I lead, my family, other people? Because honestly, I found out too that in the leadership that, you want people to be able to do things without you telling them and without them knowing that you're doing what you want them to do in a sense. Like, and it's almost like you're leading by example, but you're actually getting them to do stuff that you want them to do without them even really knowing it. And it puts a positive positive image on how much they value and honor your leadership. And it goes, and I'm just saying it because it kind of goes back to your character too, right? Because it's like, what are you doing when nobody else is around? So if you're a leader and if you have somebody that you're trying to put in that leadership role, are they still able to follow those instructions even when you aren't around to actually physically, be out front leading?
So I think that we kind of hit on something that I think is worth, diving a little deeper into. We talked about being a leader, and I think, John, I'm actually curious to hear from you, from especially being in the military. If you guys are on a campaign, like out in hostile territory, because at the end of the day, as Christians, sometimes the world can seem like hostile territory, right? Mm-hmm. It seems like we are on a battlefield, if you will. How do we as men, what are some ways that we can, one, establish the vision and then communicate it well enough to where people can follow? To Drew's point, they can follow us even when they can't necessarily see us there. They know what the vision is enough that they follow. It's kind of internal to them and they follow it. What are some tips and tricks that we can use as men to do that?
Well, everything is all motivational, right? As far as being in the military, when we go overseas or things of that nature, I used to tell my guys that the goal here is to be better, when we come home, and when I communicate that, I bring it into responsibility for your family, right? Because they're making a big sacrifice for you. So what are we doing to better ourselves? Whether that's actually going to college during this time, finishing up the degree you didn't have when you left, or putting your family in a better financial situation, and actually focusing on, paying down bills, doing that, coming back debt free, being a positive impact. So it's motivational, because when you focus on those things, then everything else comes into play. So it's important that you can relate to everybody and actually get that goal, holistic goal. A lot of times when we're leading in a job, what's really important, we home in on that family. We home in on that motivation, to say, hey, this is an avenue to help you build financial wealth or build a better life for your family. They're sacrificing for you. So what are we doing? What are we doing as males to meet that sacrifice? My wife is making a sacrifice. I'm gone. No matter what it is. It could be military, it could be a job. You know, a lot of times, you know, the wife will sacrifice her dreams, put them on hold so the male can elevate. So what are we doing in return? Are we being the best that we can be? Are we being a good steward? Are we being an example? Are we being financially literate? You know, are we eliminating the debt? You know, because what does she have to show for her sacrifice? You know, and that's really important now these days. You know, as a family, as a married couple, what are we doing as males to honor the woman's sacrifice? Because 9 out of 10, it doesn't have to be monetary, right? You know, they could be staying at home, keeping the kids, doing what they need to do, but that sacrifice allows you to do other things, to be the better leader. That allows you to be a better leader, different things. So keying in on what connects them to be better. That's my job as a leader.
Okay.
What hit home for them? It's like a lot of people, family is a motivation. Just being in a better lifestyle is a great motivator. And letting them understand that, you know, this is temporary, but what's connecting you to this goal? What's driving you to be better? You know, and usually that's the way it has to be communicated. Because to get young men to follow you when they know it could be they can lose their life and things of that nature, it takes a different type of motivation. And it can never be just a job.
Fair.
Just to be honest with you, it can never be just a job. It has to be something else that's linked to that.
So, Drew, when it comes to you setting a vision, how can you give some examples, things that you've seen, learned, or heard, or worked about setting a vision and communicating a vision?
Yeah, like I said, it was a little different, a little challenging coming into my own family because the vision that I saw family, as far as like how I was raised, it was just what I kind of saw on the outside, and nobody really talked about like maybe all the nuances of of actually raising a family. Like you saw it, but it's like you were kind of given a vague set of instructions, like man be the head of the household and woman obey the man in a sense, but it never really spelled out to, okay, how do you do that? How do you practice that every day? And how like John said, how do you communicate that? Especially now because you have modern women, and there's nothing against modern women. It's just that's how they are. No woman, a lot of them weren't even raised to know how to cook, because and of those one, who did, that's fine and dandy, but some of them they weren't raised like that. So it's not like I can set that vision for the expectation of me coming home having a full course meal cooked every day. I mean, it's just not realistic. And especially now you got both, husband and wife working in a household, things have changed. So my biggest thing was, okay, I tried to do it in the way that I thought and the way that I was kind of raised in a sense, but honestly, it was not working. It was almost like a constant clashing or a constant struggle just to try to come, into that kind of like one singleness of mind in a sense. And I really had to take a step back. So when I cast a vision for myself and for what, where I saw myself in my household, then I had to start following that vision. And that was really because I wasn't doing it I wasn't, taking the time to pray with my family. A lot of people talk about it, but I wasn't taking the time to pray with my family, especially not my daughters. But, but once God gave me that area to do, once he renewed me in my mind, then I had to start doing that. I could say all day long, oh, I'm just going to forget about it. But no, that's one of the things I need to instill godliness in them. That's my job as a man. I'm the priest of my house, the head of my household. And it doesn't also always necessarily mean that I'm ruling with an iron fist. It means that I'm being led, by God's word. And so as I cast the vision now that I see, I'm doing it by example, right? Because I don't have to tell them, this is what I want you to do. So this is what you need to do. We set the rules. We understand what needs to take place. Of course, like I even put it on our, on our family board to where each job duty is assigned to everybody knows what job, what role they're supposed to play. So it's not like me just coming in, oh, why is this done? Why is this not done? Because I know everybody knows their role, everybody flows in their role, right? And then taking that time to spend with my daughters to teach them those principles is like it's actually bringing them in submission, you know what I'm saying, to what I want done in a sense, as I'm following Christ. And now there's a lot of households that follow without that, they operate without that. But I can't operate without having Christ as the head, and then me, being the priest of my house, and then me leading I can't operate with it. I tried to, it just didn't work. I was bringing in too much worldliness into my house, and honestly, the enemy found a loophole to get in, and he started wreaking havoc. He found one little area to get in, and I allowed him to, and he started wreaking havoc. So I had to just do a whole different transition. So the vision that I cast now I feel like it's more of a godly vision, and I feel like I'm able to bring them on board because they can see the progress. Okay, this is where we want to be financially. Okay, this is where we want to be spiritually. This is what we want to do. Like even when it comes down to Christmas time, what we want to give and donate. It's kind of more like a uniform thing, and I'm able to lead by example and then show them, not just tell them, okay, this is what I want you to do, but to show them, right? This is what Daddy does. This is why he does it. This is why I pray. This is why I have my time in the morning, because this is how it helps me advance. And now I'm able to give you guys good, leadership, good words of wisdom, and good guidance. So I think it incorporates everything, but I think you have to have a premises of I need to lead by being a godly influence and setting that vision or setting that tone so it can be communicated to where everybody can understand what the overall vision is.
I agree. Go ahead. No, so one of the things that me and Victoria, we try to do, and we're getting better at it even as we work through it and just refining it as we go, is that we try to set joint visions together as a family. Right. Our family, this is what we want to accomplish for this year. And then we set individual, I'm looking up right here, they're taped up in front of me. We have family goals, and then we have individual goals. And for me, I think it's important to sit down and do that, because when decision, and something we all practically deal with, taxes, right? Tax returns is that time of the year, right? If you're blessed and fortunate enough to get money back, you get a refund. Let's say you get a refund of, let's say $5,000, nice easy round number. If you're not careful, and I'm guilty of this in the past, we got huge refunds back when we first started No Kids. I did not know how to properly set a vision for my family on what we should be doing, and we blew through money. Just being honest, we just blew through it. Now, not nearly getting those back, and like I said, God knows, He knows better than we do. Mm-hmm. But now we actually have a plan. There are certain things that we want to accomplish in 5 years, 5 to 7 years is about the time frame we're looking at. So all the things that we're doing now is based on us trying to accomplish those things in 5 to 7 years.
Right.
Those big major things. And that having that long term, okay, this is where we're getting to in 5 to 7 years, something we want to accomplish. The major decisions we can make, we can talk about how does it affect us basically as we move towards that. Is, should we or shouldn't we? Something as simple as buying a car for my daughter. She needs a car. She's got a job. Right now we have 2 cars. My wife has to drive to school, and my daughter has to go to school and then go to work. So I'm stuck at the house, right? I'm trying to make it fit between everybody's schedule. Well, it'll be really great if we get another car. So the question is, should we buy a new car for Daddy, right? Should Daddy get a nice new car? $30,000, that's reasonable for a car today. Or should we go and buy her like a $5,000 or $8,000 used car just to get her back and forth to work? Those are 2 very possible decisions that we can make. But each one of those decisions will have a different impact on our 5 to 7 year plan. Mm-hmm. So knowing that tax returns are coming back, knowing that we need new cars, knowing my daughter's about to graduate next year, by having that vision, by us sitting down at the beginning of the year, kind of talking about that, and then reevaluating that, sometime middle of the year, see if the life has changed, things have changed. And to do that on a periodic basis helps us be able to make better decisions to accomplish that vision and that goal. So that's something that we do. Like I said, we're not perfect at it, but that's something we're trying to get better and better and better at doing.
Right.
But we also have individual goals. So she has her own individual goals. I have my own individual goals. And we try not to cross each other when it comes to that, so that our individual goals should not negatively affect our family goals. Because at the end of the day, our family goals are what's most important.
Right.
Individually, as a man and a woman, there are things we want to do, but if those things impact the family goals, then it doesn't work.
Right.
It's a no-go. It's like the no-go zone, if that makes sense. But we sit down and we write these down so that we can see what those goals are, so we can tell if they're an effect or not, so that we can plan properly. Now I know what her goals are. I know we sit down as a family goal. These are the things as a family we want to accomplish. I know what her goals are. She knows what my individual goals are. She can now help me achieve my goals in her spare time. I can help her achieve her goals in her spare time, in my spare time. And that, to me, that kind of gives our ship a direction. That makes sense. When we had the family goals, we sit down and talk to our daughter, because she was one. Our son was here too, but he's about to get out. But our daughter's the one who will be primarily affected. So we talked to her about our family goals, because it's going to involve her. And we hear her write down some goals for herself personally, so we can know what those things are, so we can help her what she wants to accomplish. And that way it's open, it's out there. Everybody kind of knows what's going on, and the ship can go in the right direction. Not one person's not paddling one way, another person's paddling something different. We can all paddle more or less in the same directions.
Yeah.
But to me, writing it down makes it plain. Writing it down is like, okay, you're putting it on paper. We Xerox it. Like I said, I got a copy. I can look here. My wife got on to me. So I'm not feeling good. When this time of the year comes, I don't feel good. The weather, the allergies, I just feel horrible. And I was like, okay, after this, I'm just gonna go lay down, relax, or do something. And she's like, okay. As I ate a cookie, she's like, you eating a cookie too, huh? I'm like, yeah. Because one of my goals is there's a certain weight I want to attain. Right. So that was to me, that was her way of saying, you're not going to get what you want to get by eating the cookie and going to lay down. So because she knows what my goal is, she can help me, because I know what one of her goals are. I can help her. If that makes sense. So, anything else before we finish up on that? That was a lot. But anything else on that? One of the things you guys talked about, you talked a lot about leading by example. And as men, we're looked to in society to be those leaders. We're looked to as to set the tone, if you will. So one of the idea that I have, and people have different meanings for this, but the idea of being a savage servant. Jesus was a servant to not only the people that were here, but he's serving us even after all this time when he went back to heaven. But Jesus, he came to serve, right? He even said he came to serve. The Son of Man came to serve. And that's an example for us. And we go to Ephesians a lot, and we see the verse where it says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church, giving up himself for them. But what does that really mean? Like in practice, what does it mean to be that savage servant? What does it mean to be that servant leader in practice, in real life?
So I think that could be a twofold question as far as being a servant leader. Like Drew said, today is a different time right now. Women are more modern. You know, a lot of them are going to have jobs where they make more. But how do you still be the head of the household and not be the breadwinner as well? So how do you be a servant leader all the way around? Even when I'm a breadwinner, how am I still being a servant leader? You know, that's the question that you have to ask yourself. Are you helping your family elevate? Are you making the world a better place? Are you helping your community? Are you doing those things? Being a servant leader, like, giving wisdom to your family, uh, mentoring young people. Also, while elevating your family as well. So not only are you elevating, but is your family elevating?
Mhm.
So if I left this world today, would my family still elevate? Or if I left this world, would it stop? That's kind of the definition of, for me, being a servant leader. If I were to leave this earth today, is my family taken care of? Will they continue to elevate, or would they regress because I'm no longer there? Because you can elevate yourself as a man,
Mhm.
where your family depends on you.
Yeah.
You haven't elevated them.
Mhm.
That can be the biggest downfall, I think, of a man that's just working, and not developing his family, not pushing his family, not having those family goals. So I think being a servant leader is the responsibility of elevating your family as well.
Right.
You know, we work, we elevate ourselves so we can elevate our children, so we can elevate, our wife. Um, and when you're not the breadwinner, it's still the same principle,
Right.
because a lot of men have a problem with the wife making that,
Mhm.
making her the breadwinner. But when she's the breadwinner, okay, she's the breadwinner, she's doing this. Let me sacrifice the way she would sacrifice if I
Right.
was the breadwinner. Let me sacrifice. Let me pick up these duties with the children. Let her elevate. And then when my time comes, I know she'll do the same for me. But a lot of men, some cases, men are not doing it. They truly don't understand what it means to be a servant leader in the head of household. So it's difficult, because like I said, 40% of the males are not making more, so, and they don't understand. They still want that head of the household,
Yeah.
but they don't realize you're not in that position, So if your wife is making more, she's going to work. Is it fair that she has to cook, clean, and you're where you're at? Or let's put it into context. Let's say there was an opportunity. Let's say the husband um, wants to move, and I did this. These are the steps I had to take, right? So I know some of my friends that would, you know, just because his wife had the degree and things of that nature, they wanted them to go first, but they didn't have the job. They wasn't doing the thing necessary. They wasn't getting the house ready to be sold. They wasn't financially doing the things they need to do to help the wife be elevated. Instead, they want to put it all on them just because, hey, you can get a better job. I'll just follow you. No, that's not the key. You're supposed to elevate her, make her feel comfortable. Okay, while you do this, I'm gonna get the house ready. I'm gonna meet with the realtor. I'm gonna do the painting. I'm gonna get this house ready to be sold. Um, I'm gonna do everything I got to do. All you have to do is go there, get a job, and I'll get this situated back here. And it's not all on you. We're a team. So that's just an example of what I mean by not understanding, servant leader, and what it means with your family and the community, and also what it means how to put two and two together, the head of household and be a servant leader at the same time, and how to be the head of household when you're not a breadwinner. So I think that's something that we just don't have a lot of today, because they only have that one track mind where the male says, oh, you're supposed to cook and clean, you're supposed to do this, but
Right.
they don't understand that, hey, I'm not in that position. I'm not in a position to say this, because guess what? I'm not the breadwinner.
Right.
So what do you do? How do you develop your family when you're not? And how do you be a servant leader at the same time? And a lot of times through knowledge, mentorship, teaching your children, hey, this is how it's supposed to be. How do you still be a man? You talk to your daughters that you have, hey, is this the example of the man you want?
Mhm.
Or are you saying, hey, I'm doing this because I want mommy's expectations to be met.
Right.
She has a great career, but I'm going to do these things. So when you're in a relationship and you're in this position,
Yeah.
this is what the man should do for you.
Right.
So I think it's a teaching point,
Right.
just, and it takes time and experience, and it takes prayer too. So
Definitely is.
I think that's very difficult, as far as understanding that.
Drew, your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
and I like what he said too. And it takes, like I said, the man knowing his place, knowing his role. And that doesn't necessarily mean just in the household too. That means his position in his relationship with God. And you talk about something earlier about like that dual dynamic between a leader and a servant. Honestly, our greatest job as being a leadership is to serve. That's our greatest commission, to serve others. He said to love your neighbors just as you love yourself. And if you're not doing that, then you're not serving. I think a lot of times what happens, I'm just speaking personally, we let that pride thing or the ego thing begin to get lifted up. And now we can't see past that, right? It's like we get blinders on. And now, oh, you make more money. It's like, yeah, but you puffed up for nothing, really, because if you think about it, it's beneficial, right? And especially if the woman wants to work too, man, it's beneficial. All you gotta do is just say, you just need to work on yourself, work on your personal development, if that's what it takes, and to elevate yourself to the position that you need to be in. And to me, that becomes an unstoppable threat. But you can't, bite the hand that's feeding you in a sense, or you can't continue to pull down that support that's helping lift you up. So I think the biggest thing is, like I said, to get the pride out of the way. If you get the pride out of the way, and then just ask God, if you don't have a vision, ask God, God, give me a vision, right? Give me a vision. God, show me what I'm supposed to do. And us, we just don't want to do that because we're rather do it in our own self, in our own right, versus seeking God and asking Him which direction do I need to go. And honestly, I would say if the man is not hearing from God, seriously, that's a big problem in the household, a huge problem, because he cannot lead his family if he's not hearing from God. You can't, right? Now you can lead them, don't get me wrong, but when the things start blowing up, and then when you start, when the enemy starts to come in and starts to cause, any type of separation or discord, then what are you gonna fall back on? Okay, what are you gonna fall back on? So if the man is being the leader in his household, if he knows how to serve, he's good. You know what I'm saying? Because God is going to elevate him. And honestly, don't look at it as like John said earlier, some things just take time. This could just be that season, right? This could just be that season where you're going through. And honestly, God can just be testing you to see where you are, honestly, to see, can you really handle this, okay? Before he does elevate you. Sometimes we just don't want to go through those seasons because it's a bigger picture at stake, right? It's not just about you and the present situation. But the Bible says, but the weight of glory is way more of the present suffering that you're going through right now, right? Yeah. Because the glory that's going to be revealed, right, it's going to have a whole much larger weight. So the things that we have to suffer through to get started in order, like I said, but if we have the vision, to me, I tell everybody, you got to have a plan, set a plan. If you have a plan, then it's easier to see where you are off track or where you need to get on track. Because I got a plan, I see what I'm working towards. Yep. But if you don't have anything that you're working towards, you just you're just throwing darts and just hoping they'll stick somewhere. But at least, like you said earlier, if I got a plan, hey, I know I'm gonna get me a car in the next 6 months. That's a plan. At least start there. Okay, what is it gonna take for me to do that? Because now once you master that thing, you can go on to the next. But if you don't have a plan, man, I don't know what you're doing. It's not gonna work the way that you think it's gonna work. It don't just fall from the sky and like, oh, one day it's just gonna happen. No, you have to have a plan. And even when that plan doesn't work, guess what? You have to have another plan in place in case that plan doesn't work, right? It's all about life. It's all about building stuff and establishing things. It does not happen overnight. Like that famous saying, Rome wasn't built overnight.
Yep. Okay?
It had to take a plan of action in order to get there. And I think, too, as men, we try to rush the process because we want to get this. We want this lifestyle that we see so vividly from other people on TV. We want that lifestyle, but we don't understand what it actually takes to get there. And most of those fools, they ain't even really living that lifestyle. Most of them are in so much debt, and the only reason they're in the area that they are in because they're being fronted that because they got an image that they're being paid to maintain. A lot of stuff is not even real. You know, you talk to some real people who are really dealing with stuff and, like I say, have their own finances together, have their own homes, you know, who own their own properties. Those are some real people who you need to talk to. All this other glitter, you know, glitter things that look so elaborate. No, you want to drive the best automobiles. Those automobiles come with a payment. Until it's paid off, right? And then you got insurance, and then you got upkeep, you got maintenance. You know, people don't talk about all that stuff. Like it, you know, it takes something to be responsible. And I don't think a lot of times men, honestly, they're not really ready for that responsibility. And again, it goes back to a lot of them not really being taught by men in the household. So it does start from somewhere. But at the end of the day, I think us even doing this broadcast, us being leaders, I think it's very crucial that we actually speak the truth so they can actually understand what steps it's going to take. And it's not just something that's just going to happen overnight. And just because you see us talking about this stuff, yeah, but we got years of experience. You know, I got over 20 years of experience in my industry. Okay, I got over 11 years of experience in my marriage, you know, and I got over, 18 years of experience in my finances, you know, and I got another 13 years of experience in my business. So it don't just happen overnight.
One of the things that when we first got married, there was a gentleman that took me under his wing. He took a liking to me, and I'm glad he did. So he was really one of my first true mentors professionally. But he mentored me, maybe whether he realized it or not, he mentored me more personally than he did professionally. Because I didn't have my dad in the home, so I didn't know. I was freshly married, wife just moved down. We didn't live together beforehand, so we had a long distance relationship. She moved in, and that was really the first time we lived together after we got married. And one of the things he told me, and this is kind of my motto, how I try to approach it. If Victoria, my wife, she's gonna see this. She's gonna hate it when I say it, but it's the way I live. That's the way I think about it. My job is to treat her like a flower. So with a flower, it's when it first starts off, if you don't cover it and protect it, the elements can get to it and destroy it. Right. Yeah. So after you cover and protect it, you got to provide it rain and nutrients so that it can grow. And his whole idea was that by you protecting and you providing the resources that it needs, you're building the environment for that flower to flourish and to bloom and to spread its seeds to others. And I try to treat my wife and my kids like those flowers. My job is to provide that environment for them, to protect and to provide the environment for them. And that means a lot of times I can't go play video games when I want to. I can't go and spend money the way that I want to. Right? Even though at the end of the day, I'm accountable. I'm accountable for the money in our household, good, bad, or otherwise. I just can't go and, buy that $30,000 truck that or buy a $30,000 car, right, just because we need a car, right? I could, but that falls back on me. Right. And so when I think about being a savage servant and a servant leader, is the savage part is fiercely protecting and passionately serving with intensity those people that you are responsible for. It's not just, oh, I gotta go do it. It's like, no, I gotta go do it. It's serving them with a sense of passion and intensity. And that's, to me, that's what being a savage is. It's being intense, being ferocious, being intentional about what you're doing. Right. But it's being intentional and passionate about serving. Today, like I said, we had a party at our house last night. So it's basically a game night. We invited people over, we cooked and had fun. Great. We cleaned up a little bit last night, but we didn't clean up all the way. So went to church this morning, did some stuff at church, came back after lunch, and it's like, okay, there was laundry that was sitting in, and my wife was super busy. I got super busy. My daughter got a job now. And it's like, okay, we just need to tackle the house. We just need to go do it, right? And I'm so thankful. My wife, she got work that's due tonight. She got schoolwork that's due tonight and tomorrow. But our family, she knew we had to get our kind of house in order. So I said, okay, I can do laundry. You can start on the living room. I was like, okay, we can kind of divide and conquer, right? And next thing I know, she came in and she's like, okay, let's get started on the laundry together. So we tackled the laundry together. Then we tackled the living room together. We tackled the bedroom. I had my daughter working on the living room and then working on her room. And then I tackled the office. But we did that together, right? We both went in and we just blitzed it. And I know she was thinking in the back, I got to get this work done, and I respect that, But the fact that she was willing to put the house first, that meant a lot to me, because yes, I know, like I had to come here and try to get ready for this, But there's things we had to do. We had to go, like we had to plan our budget for the week. That's the house, you know, was important. So we did that. We did those things. So it's, to me, being that servant leader is being willing to set the example, to step in. Yes, the house needs to get cleaned up and some things to get done. It wouldn't have been. I can. I've heard. I have never done it. I've never seen it, but I have heard of where, the guys would be like, that's her problem, not mine. That's a her problem, not a my problem, right? And us and to each his own. Each man is going to be accountable for how he runs his house. But for me, the one of the things I can say with some confidence that my son has seen me as a husband do laundry. My son has seen me cook dinner. He hasn't seen me sew. I can't sew, but he's seen me. And the point that I set the dinner, I set the menu for the week. So I sit down and talk to everybody on Sunday night, figure out what people's schedules are, and we have a board where who's going to be responsible for cooking each day and which days that we're going to fend for ourselves, as we call it, leftovers or chicken nuggets or whatever it may be, because schedule just doesn't allow that. So for me, being a servant leader is planning it out and making sure my name is up there, right? Even if it's I'm cooking, even if I'm just cooking, I don't know, pork chops with gravy and mashed potatoes. My name is up there, right? Or whatever we got going. My name is up there on the dinner board, so that my son and my daughter can see, yes, a husband is supposed to help cook. A husband is supposed to help clean. She saw me sweeping today, right? So to me, being a servant leader is doing those things, being involved in those things, and not only telling your family what needs to get done, but showing them and being involved in it if it's possible as well. So to me, that's what being a servant leader is all about. All right, guys. Um, Last but not least, when it comes to leadership, we talked about setting a vision and communicating a vision. We talked about being a servant leader. Um, Kind of the last topic, and this is a difficult one, and maybe it's something we'll tackle later, when we can get some of the ladies on. But how do you handle when um, you've explained it and you've set the example, but you find it difficult? Some people find it difficult to follow your leadership. What are some of the challenges that you guys have faced and once you set the vision and you're getting in there doing the work? What are some challenges that you faced in getting people to follow that vision with you, or some challenges in that you've seen, and how have you overcome those?
I think having a vision is a vision, right? Uh, and sometimes a lot of people are not visionaries. They have to see it, and that can be difficult too. I mean, you do have people out there that have to see it, and then you have other people that are just by faith. I know it's going to work out. I'm putting the work in. I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm going forward. Now, when I was younger, I had problems with that all the time because really didn't see it until it manifested, right? Because it took time, like we talk about. It takes time to get to a certain point, right? May not see it right now, but you will see it later on, you know. But that just comes down to trust in a relationship.
That's
So,
good.
because my wife didn't see it, but she trusts me, you know, and I think the trust is a key component. So when a woman loses her trust in you, she loses a lot of faith in your ability to lead. So it's linked together. So
That's good.
so a lot of things, you know, building that trust first allows you to be a visionary, allows you to lead your family. You got trust that I'm gonna lead you into the right direction. I'm gonna lead this family to the right direction. I'm gonna lead this your employees because they have the trust. And that's why I say a lot of people don't really understand what a great leader is because they don't know the key components in order to make it successful. A lot of people think it's, you know, other things, but it really comes down to trust. And if you think about all the great employees, our great bosses that you had, what is the one thing that I trust my boss. I trust that he would do the best thing for me. I trust that my husband would do the best thing for our family. I trust him with my finances. In the military, I trust him with my life. You know, so trust is the foundation of a great leader. But a lot of people don't speak on that. We don't even teach that in leadership classes. You know, and if you study leaders, and you study Gandhi, and you study Martin Luther King, you even, hey, you want to study a president, you want to study George Washington, they trust him. Abraham Lincoln, they trusted him. He had people have to trust him in order for him to abolish slavery, right? They trusted him. They trusted his word because they couldn't see it. Because why were they fighting? And you think about it, he wanted to abolish slavery, and he was taking casualties before it was done. They had to trust his word, trust his vision. So when you think about how powerful trust is, that links it all together, you know. So early in your career, in your marriage, or early in employment, until your employees trust you, you don't get that visionary, right? Or early on when your wife is just married and y'all trying to figure things out, she's got to trust you because she trusts that you would set them up for success. You know, we trust the teachers to teach our kids. You know, we trust a preacher to preach to us, to give us the word on Sunday. You know, everything you can link to trust. You know, when you don't have trust, you got disgruntled employees. I don't trust my boss. I know he doesn't care about me. Not a great leader. You know? So I think that's the key. I think that's the
Good. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think that's the key to all of it is just the trust. I mean, it's an important factor. The important factor is the leadership factor. And unfortunately, people don't really think about gaining the trust of their employees. They don't think about that. That's not first, it's last. So
there's a saying, we did a study for our Bible study. It's called the Love Bank. And the idea behind it, and to what you just mentioned too, is that for every one bad thing you do in your marriage, so you say something wrong, you do something wrong. For every one bad thing you do, it takes, I think it was 5 or 7 good things to offset that one bad thing.
Right.
And I think a lot of times when it comes to your point, building up trust, sometimes we try to go big and get some big thing, which may take a while to get. It may not see it, and it may fail because it's so big, right? Honey, we're going to be a millionaire next year, right? As opposed to saying, you know what, babe? Why don't we get 15,000 in the bank in 3 months? Why don't we get 25,000 in the bank in 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get 50,000 in by 8 months. If you do those, you know, you say, you know what, baby, if you follow me, if we follow this plan, and in 3 months we'll have 10,000 in the bank. She says, okay, I'll follow that plan. And if you have 10,000 in the bank, you've earned some capital, some political capital, right? So you say, okay, babe, if we follow this plan, we'll have 30,000 in the bank in 6 months. Because she's seen your previous success with it, she's going to be more likely to follow, even if it's a little more extreme, right? I don't know if you guys have seen Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Ramsey, we're a proponent of him. Our kids are going through Financial Peace University now. So he has a thing of beans and rice and beans, right? Well, you know, me and my wife, we started off in Dave Ramsey, and I ended up getting a second job, you know, because that's one of the things that he talks about is getting a second job. And there are some things we did. We didn't go, I have to admit, whole hardcore. You know, we didn't go hardcore, but we went pretty solid, and it worked. But it required us to make some changes in our lifestyle. We found out as we went along that those changes weren't sustainable. We weren't happy necessarily. So we thought, okay, what can we do that is sustainable? So we ended up adjusting our game plan and our vision to make it fit. But she was still willing to follow because she saw some of the benefits of us following that plan. So she was willing to keep into it, even if we had to make a few adjustments in the plan because she saw the success of what we were able to accomplish, right? You know, I didn't make any big promises, but we made a lot of good life progress by following that plan and adjusting it. And we just took another leap. Actually, last month we just took another leap. But she's willing, and we talked about it. We saw the potential vision of it. She's willing to take the leap with me because we built up some capital, and we're praying it. God bless it to work out. But because of some of the capital God has blessed to build up, she's willing to follow in that.
Right.
And to me, that's something that is. I'm learning to take the small victories. Yeah. And then you can build on those things instead of trying to go for the home run.
Right.
You know, and then if you whiff on that, if you hit it, great. If you whiff, it's hard to come back. You got to do a lot of work to come back from that. So that's something I've definitely learned.
Right.
Cool, man.
And then also, like John was talking about the trust thing, especially with men, you got to have integrity, man. You know, you got to have that integrity, that stick to itness. One thing that I had to learn, honestly, like I said, I've always been a hard worker in a sense, but when it came down to my family, and you know, when you can look back over your failures and the reasons why, like I said, the trust was broken or was not there, or you know, all the problems, whatever the thing may cause, when you have to dig yourself out of holes, it all comes back to having integrity. At first, I didn't know how to have integrity. I was looking for validation in a lot of things, and I was looking for like that. Kind of like that crutch in a sense, but it came back to me just owning everything. Like I had to own everything. Like it don't matter what they did. It don't matter. It's me. It all comes back to you're the head of the house. What are you doing? And there's been many times, like you said, making that sacrifice. I just had to make the sacrifice. I just had to show. And sometimes, and again, I said it's been an example. Sometimes it's not just always easy. You can have the perfect plan. You can have the perfect opportunity. And it's still not always easy to get the other person to see the vision. Like John was saying, everybody else don't have the same vision. But if you have integrity and you stick through it, I promise you the other side is always going to pay off. And I'm just looking back now because, you know, I had made some pretty big plans because I saw it. Like I saw this can happen. And in the middle of it, it got real gray and it got real murky. And what I allowed the enemy to come in and actually throw me off course because I'm like, well, they ain't seeing the vision. I'm working hard. I'm doing all this stuff, man. Shoot, bump this. And it took me into a hold. I'm just being honest about it. But when God brought me back into alignment with what he was saying, now it's like, man, whether they do it or not, I'm sticking to the vision. And whether they are on board, whether I get any type of praise, I don't care. I'm sticking to the vision. I know what God has shown me. And I promise you, it's just like now, it's like the stuff that I'm not even thinking about. And it's happening so fast in a lot of areas. But it's that integrity piece. I know what I do every morning. I know I go before the Lord every morning. I wasn't doing that before. I know that I get my daughters to gather together. We pray every morning. I wasn't doing that before. You know, I know that I have an appetite for God, reading his word, studying his word. I wasn't doing that before. So that's what changed. So I'm keeping that integrity. Now, at first, I want them to see the immediate change, right? Hey, I changed, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's 2 years in, and like this last year, I hadn't even said nothing. It's just all been about action. And it's like, wait a minute, you said that was going to happen. Yeah, keep moving. You know, you said this is what we're going to do. Yep, just keep moving. Like, you don't have to even, but I know that at the end of the day, the scripture comes to mind that says that he is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. Mm-hmm. So my reward is based off how pleased is he with me. That's where I get my reward from. How pleased is he with me? Because even it says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. So with my vision and my faith, I do what God has allowed me to do. I shoot the vision for my family and I just seek after it. If they follow suit and if they fall into where they can, hey, that's just more help along the way. But then I still serve because, hey, what do you need me? I know I'm doing all this, blah, blah, but what do you need me? Do you need this? All right, your car needs the oil change? Cool, let me grab it. You know, oh, baby, you need some shoes? Come on, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still serving my family. So I'm like, well, I just did this because that's how I was at first. Why I did all this? Why can't? Nope. Take it all because God, at the end of the day, I know what God will do. He will give you the strength that you need, and he will continue to help you along the way. Because sometimes as men, we can kind of get burnt out a little bit. Yeah. You know, we're constantly going back and forth. But I promise you, if you line it up with what God's word is saying, then he will continue to help you. But you got to have integrity, man. You got to have integrity. So like I said, that trust aspect with it, you got to have some integrity, man. You got to stand up to the plate. Do those things that as if your life depended on it every time, not just half stepping it, you know. So
I was watching the Chosen. I don't know if you guys saw that show, The Chosen. Loved it. I'm watching it again for the second time. And I'm just now I was in the beginning in the first season where Peter, he was in trouble. He had some tax issues. He had some money problems. He like real problem. He's about to get thrown in jail and probably, you know, may end up getting killed. Right. And he kept it hid from his wife. He didn't tell her to put it. He's like, baby, I got this. He literally came on one night and said, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'll get it taken care of. Obviously, he didn't have it. He didn't have it. But because he was not setting that example, he wasn't being honest and living with integrity, things didn't work out. It didn't work out for him at all the way he thought it was going to work out. So he finally had to come back to his wife and said, you know what? The other night when I said I got this, I don't got this. Yeah. He finally had to come back and admit that. And it's like, to me, that's, to your point, one of the things of being a leader is being honest with those you're serving, to let them know kind of this is where we are, right? Even thinking about it like financially, like this is where we are. This is where, in order for us to get where we want to go, these are the things we got to do. Right. Here's what I can do to help. In addition to what I'm doing now, here's what I can do to help. Here's what I need you to do to help, right? And if you can do that, I think you have a better chance at success if you're able to be open and honest. And sometimes as men, we let our pride get in the way, just like Peter did. We let our pride get in the way because most of us, if we're trying to be good men, we want to be natural born fixers. We want to fix the problem, right? Sometimes us trying to fix the problem ends up causing more problems, right? I'm not a plumber. That's not my skill. That's not my trade. I can get around and bang around on some pipes every now and again. If I get in there and I got a leak, you know, under the sink, I get in there. And if I don't see clearly what's going on and I just try to fumble around, I can end up making that small leak that would have taken 30 minutes for a professional plumber to fix. Now I'm having to replace all the piping under it. You know, I'm replacing $1,000, got to replace the towel on the floor because they done got wet. And, you know, we're having to live in a hotel now because they got to go and rip up the floor. But if I'm just honest, like, yes, I can, I'm gonna try, but when I see, oh no, I need to go do this, I need to do that, being honest and having that integrity, as you say, no, this is where we are. I can't do this. I need this help. Or, if I do this, I need to go bring someone else in to do this to help me accomplish that. And that way, having that sense of integrity, the people that you're following will know where you are. They'll know when you say X, they can trust he really means X. When he says Y, they can trust he really means Y. Right? I've seen it in the past, and I can trust what he's saying. To John, what he was saying. All right, fellas, any on leadership, on setting a vision, or being a savage servant? Any final tips before we get off?
I'll say choose discipline over motivation. It will last longer.
Yes,
Right.
that is one of my favorite sayings. I love that saying. That's why I'm going to the gym today. That's why I'm going to the gym as soon as we get off, because I'm not motivated. I don't feel like it. I've had a long couple of weeks at work, and that's just a long couple of weeks. But I'm not going to get to my goal weight. And I'm sitting here looking at, like, how in the world I'm going to get there if I don't go today, if I don't go each day and choose to do it. So, yeah, gonna go sweat it off. All right, fellas. We mentioned the next podcast. We mentioned talking about. We touched on a little bit here, but what if she makes more money than you? So I had that requested from someone I talked with. They shall remain anonymous, but that was something that really brought over. And there's some statistics that we're going to talk about related to men's finances, women's finances, college degrees, professions that are being chosen. And I do want to just to kind of give you guys a head up, I do want to talk about this concept of 50-50 and what you guys think about it. I have my own personal opinions, but I want to see what you guys, this whole concept of 50-50. And if you just kind of Google, you'll see like 50-50 relationship, and it may help give you a heads up on some of that. So I think it'll be a good discussion for relationships as we go through in this modern world, as you guys keep saying, how do we as Christian men move and operate in this modern world? So, all right. With that, this is Andre from a Christian male perspective. My brothers Drew and JT. Thank you guys for joining us, and we shall catch you next time.
See you.